His success in the summer months has won like 5 major tournaments. But Bomber on the other end, like he's been around for 3 years now and he at least gets top 4 finishes everywhere.
Yeah, he does. It's Bomber's law, man. Can he surpass that today? As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, the man himself in red, representing Taeja and Korea. Give it up for Bomber. And to the bottom left, the man that needs to tie things up. Representing Team Liquid and Korea, give it up for Taeja. All right, so I would like to see a Reaper. As you mentioned, I would love to see the Reaper from probably both of these players, but Bomber has once again opened up with a gas first, which is far more indicative of that tech route.
You know what's actually the most shocking thing about Star Station when you think back about the map is that Taeja identified everything from start to finish. First he got the SCV scout down, and then later he wanted to be sure against what he was facing, and he threw down the scan and he saw that starport, he saw the factory. He knew everything from start to finish, yet he really got surprised. I mean, he didn't see that little follow-up push, but above all, the fact that that single bench he did so much damage, it's kind of weird when you see it coming, and not just once, but twice.
Yep, it's a tough thing to deal with here. Taeja's shown good Banshee control in the past. If he were to go for it, but that's not going to happen here just yet. As his gas was a little bit later, it would be a much more of an inefficient build from Taeja if we were to see that. So he's just going to go for something a little bit lesser in terms of tech and try and defend if Bomber would want to go for that.
Yeah, Taeja immediately walls off, just like he did on Star Station, drops that supply depot, even though he doesn't want to finish it, but he just wants to make sure that Bomber doesn't get an SCV in his main base. And Bomber is just opening the same way as he did in the previous game. Get a really quick refinery and then drops the factory ASAP. He's not really bothered with scouting for a little while. He's going to try to send something across the map, perhaps just going to spot for proxies, because I don't think that SCV is going to be able to see anything. And there we go.
Yeah, not too much. Marine comes out and pokes him away. And aside from that, here now, Taeja back at home, adding on the reactor pretty fast to this barracks. I'm kind of surprised by that. I guess he just wants a lot of Marines out for that initial defense.
Yeah, he's saving up quite a bit of minerals as well, so he's going to follow this up with a command center. So it's kind of the same as in the previous game, but just a little bit different. Perhaps he feels like he didn't have enough Marines to deal with this Banshee, which I really don't think was the case, because I think he had plenty of Marines. He just didn't have them positioned properly.
Yeah, exactly. He just didn't, you're right, he didn't have them positioned properly, and to be more specific, I guess separated in a better way. If you have them at the back of your mineral line at the natural, whilst a few at the back of the main as well, you can deal with that a lot better. But now that starport is on the way for Bomber, along with that tech lab, and it's about to start again.
Yeah, never change a winning team, right? Bomber is like, hey, that Banshee in the last game, that worked out pretty well. Let's try that again. I'm pretty sure, though, that Taeja is going to be much more prepared. Also, I still think that one Widow Mine would have been like kind of nice, because even though you're not going to be able to connect with your mine to the Banshee, because of course Bomber is really good and he's not just going to idle above the mine, you force the Banshee to run away from it all the time. Oh, this time, however, we do see Cloak being researched, something that Bomber didn't do in the previous game.
And this could be a really cool fake out. If we see Taeja being a little bit, you know, not actually getting the scout off, he'll drop the scan, he'll see that again, and he'll be like, are you going to fake out again? What is going on here? So distilling a sense of insecurity in Taeja's mind right now if that does happen. Oh, there's that Widow Mine. Ah, lovely.
At least one winner win.
Yeah.
Command center finish up for Taeja as well. It's going to morph it into an orbital immediately, while Bomber's Banshee is almost out. So that's pretty much going to be the first scout in this game for Bomber as well. I love how blind he plays. He's just like, I'm doing my thing, and with my Banshee, I am going to scout, and I'm going to deal a lot of damage. And after that, we will see.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many builds that you can go for in TVT that you can play blind and still be very well defended. The Raven is super indicative of that. Drops the scan, sees the Cloak, is researching. Now, maybe Taeja dropped this scan a little bit later to see if it was still just churning away, right? Because if he dropped the scan earlier and then started it, maybe it would have looked like a normal Cloak timing. But at this time of the scan, he's thinking, actually, that is a full commitment to Cloak.
Oh, that Banshee's gonna fly straight into this Widow Mine, and that is why that Widow Mine can be so useful. The Banshee is still alive, but only with 15 HP, and this is already a much, much better scenario for Taeja.
Yeah, very much so. Adds on the missile turret as well, knowing that that Cloak is a viable option for his opponent. So a great start for Taeja, as you rightly pointed out.
I love how he just did it like burning the Widowmine in the natural over there. I was like, I wonder if like that's the best position to do it. But that's like not a position where you would expect a Widowmine. Well, meanwhile, this Banshee is still going to town a little bit, picking up 2 SCVs so far and forcing a cancel on his missile turret. But there's no way in hell that it's ever going to be as successful as it was in the previous round.
Still good control by Bomber though, keeping this alive. Drops the scan and does not get it. Oh, that's a costly investment. But at the same time behind this, Bomber, he has to keep that Raven alive.
Oh, this Viking might actually be able to high-five the Banshee. You can see Taeja actively clicking all around the map. He really wants to find that Banshee, but he's barely going to miss it.
And the Banshee looks like it's wanting to come back and get repaired here. Running in opposite directions.
I hear something.
Yeah, doesn't want to be anywhere near that. And but Bomber, important to note here that he still does not have a second command center. So
that's
from this
different than in the previous game.
It's I think that, you know, Bomber here just going for a big assault once again. He's trying to claim the air advantage with a good Viking number, something that Taeja invested into early on. And if he can kind of overcome that position that he saw, which was Taeja was doing in game number 1, then maybe he can actually break this front again.
Scouting is going to be everything for Taeja. He has not spotted these units march across the map right now. Bomber pulling SCVs as well. Man, he is so reckless. Whether he plays TVP or TVT, he just goes for it whenever he feels the time is right. This time, however, Taeja's start was much better. He has the tank already in position. And as long as Taeja buys time, like the most important thing for Taeja is going to be don't fight immediately. Sure, let him get that sort of scary contain up on you. It doesn't matter. You're mining off 2 bases. The more time you buy for yourself, the better it will be in the long run.
Also, point defense drone might be very important here as he's getting just 100 energy. He needs to keep these Vikings alive here as the fight is going to happen. Point defense drone, point defense drone, the worst fight of all time. And now with those tanks shelling away at that bunker as well, Taeja needs to find a way out.
Well, Taeja has a couple of SCVs here and he's repairing that Viking. And Taeja, well, he's going to lose the Viking in the long run, but still he has an HP advantage and that is something. And it seems like Bomber is going to abandon this mission for now. We can see the command center in production as well on the other side of the map. Taeja holds, stabilizes, however you want to call it, without taking any damage.
Siege tanks in not too bad a position here, but the air advantage still. Oh, kills off the Raven. Not too bad. Bomber, army supply, 46 to 27 right now. He's playing this very patiently, very safely. He forces one of the siege tanks back. He's in range of that command center.
Yeah, but that's okay. Taeja can just repair the command center for ages, as long as he doesn't lose any siege tanks like he did before. One of his tanks taking a lot of damage right now. Taeja has to keep those tanks alive.
That scan was so important, killing off that Banshee, making sure he doesn't lose any more of those siege tanks to that fire. Taeja playing this defense really well.
This is perfect right now. He's 9 workers ahead. He's stabilizing. These tanks are getting a couple of annoying shots off, but that's okay. Taeja severely outmining his opponent. And above all, he still has air control. He has 3 Vikings over here. As soon as that Raven takes a few more shots, he can just park a tank on the high ground, and that high ground is going to secure Taeja's natural. Beautiful defense by Taeja.
Exactly. Absolutely fantastic analysis of that position. As Bomber gets pushed back, and Taeja now is free. He's free to do what he wants behind this, and he's macroing up a nice army. Needs to repair a supply depot.
Bomber is still getting like a soft contain on his opponent, but this is not a position where he wants to find himself in. He even pulled some SCVs across the map. I do like that he identified on a certain point. He's like, okay, it's very unlikely I'm going to win the game right here and right now. I'm going to drop an additional command center on my own. But of course, he is economically behind. 10 workers in TVT, that's going to be a world of difference.
And I mean, time and time again in this tournament, we've seen Bomber be super aggressive. Now, that aggression has subsided for a little bit, but I can guarantee you, in this mid game here, Bomber is going to look to just macro up and try and be aggressive again. Good shots on these siege tanks here. Drops the scan against these Banshees. Kills off one of them just barely in the end, but a lot of siege tanks are dying here for Taeja.
That's a beautiful flank here by Bomber. He has an overwhelming amount of Marines, and he's actually able to pick up those 3 tanks from Taeja. Taeja getting a little reckless there, or perhaps overeager. Now he's going to pull out the SCPs. I really don't think you have to do that.
But at the same time, Bomber was not sieged up, so this is not too bad for Taeja here, as he will force this away. He was lucky with that, though, as they're actually going to turn around and fight here, trying to get a few SCV kills.
Look at those SCVs drilling away at the tank. He's like, all right, let me unscrew the wheels.
That was so weird, man. He was like, I can't do this anymore. I've just got to go. I guess he felt that his siege tank disadvantage was too much for him to stay contained on 2 bases. So it was by the by. He gets out in the end.
Yeah, Bomber had a massive Marine lead. Now he still has a small Marine lead, but Taeja slowly but steady catching up in the Marines. Above all, the important upgrades to make this Marine so much stronger are going down on either side. But we can see, actually Bomber is a little ahead in those upgrades, which surprised me. But Taeja is on double eBay, that's nice.
Yeah, that Banshee has to be very careful about where it moves. That missile turret will provide the vision, and a lot of vision. It's a very, very large radius. And Stim versus Stim about to finish up as well. So going into this mid game, very even, I would say.
Taeja hasn't been producing SCVs for a long time, and this is not a mistake. This is something that he's doing on purpose. He lost a few SCVs to this Banshee. He has not been producing SCVs for a good solid 2 minutes right now. This gives me the feeling that he just wants to win this game. Bomber didn't identify this yet. He's actually marching across the map, thinking like, hey, that went pretty good for me, but perhaps I have to do a little more to really catch up in this game. The opposite is true, however. Bomber has an SCV lead right now. If he pulls back, if he stabilizes, it's going to be hard for Taeja to run into him. Man, this is so awkward. They're like running circles.
Yeah, exactly. He leaves as he enters, and now actually he could catch off some of the valuable units here of Taeja in the reinforcement.
Stim is ready on either side, but there are 3 medevacs on the side of Taeja. I think this is like a best case scenario for Taeja, because he's going to be able to get his spy in not a defensive position here for Bomber. But of course, those tanks are sieged.
Exactly. Bomber now is kind of zoning Taeja out. How is Taeja going to get around this? All those Marines are laying waste to this expansion. He has to go for it. He's going to lose a lot of Marines in the process, though, but he kills off the siege tanks.
But he has 3 medevacs, and medevacs are so important in fights like this. Taeja will be able to clean this up, and he has a massive army supply read right now. Actually, it's not that massive. It's 41 against 33, but he is down 14 workers, and Taeja is still not producing any SCVs. Taeja wants to win this game in the next 2 minutes. Otherwise, it is going to be damn near impossible.
Yeah, he's sending the big drop along, but the Banshee has spotted those medevacs moving into the middle here. That's a lot of Marines that could shut this down.
Yep, there are 20 Marines. 20 Stim Marines is easily enough to snipe at least one out of these 3 medevacs, and then he can clean up the rest with a drop. Taeja is still going to go for it, though.
Oh, he's trying to throw down the missile turrets. Where are the Marines? He sets up the siege tanks on the high ground. The Marines are out of position. This is good for Taeja. Those siege tanks sieged up nicely.
Is it enough, though, if he pulls all the SCVs? I actually think that Bomber is going to have enough units here to stabilize. Where is his Stim? Why is he not stimming? He doesn't want to stim?
Well, I guess he's going to clean it up in the end, but that now equalizes things up quite nicely. 32 to 39 workers in favor of Taeja. This is so back and forth.
And now Taeja is like, all right, that was pretty good. Let me start making SCVs again. That was like the most awkward pause in 4 minutes to produce SCVs, but excellent read here on the game from both sides, though. And I do think that Bomber didn't stim on purpose because he didn't have medevacs?
I guess so.
And then his Marines would have died too early?
I mean...
And he doesn't have combat shield either.
And he loses another Banshee.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. He doesn't have combat shield. If he stims, he only has 35 HP. Then the Marines are just going to die really quickly against the tanks.
It's a huge disadvantage to be out there if you actually go into that engagement like that. Nice siege tank fire from both sides, but at the same time, Bomber getting a lot of Marines there.
Yeah, getting a couple of really juicy free shots off on those Marines from Taeja. Taeja still desperately trying to get one tank at least in range of that production facility, but that is not going to work for now.
Army supplies in favor of Bomber right now, but the upgrade lead heavily in favor of Taeja, with +2 weapons just about to finish up against Bomber, who only has +1 weapons and no armor. So this double engineering bay has been great.
Yeah, and Bomber is actually not producing SCVs right now, and that's already ever since he lost all those SCVs. So Bomber is going to be in like the reverse scenario, or it is going to be a reverse scenario of what we had a little while ago. He has a bigger army supply lead than Taeja had, though, after that little fight. 25. Then again, a defensive terrain is really, really hard to break. I am very curious to see how Bomber is going to try to make this happen.
He's looking to move out now. If he catches these Marines in a bit of a bad spot, then maybe he can actually do a lot of damage. Sieges up across the high ground.
He has 46 Marines against 20-something Marines of Taeja right now. Gets 2 really nice shots off on those Marines as well. And I kind of wonder when Taeja is going to realize what he's playing against. If Taeja knows that this is still Bomber on 2 bases who's not producing any SCVs, there's no way he has the urge right now to defend 3 bases, but he doesn't know this yet. 81 army supply against 90. He's going to separate these siege tanks up, siege them. Nope, the Marine at the very back does get away there. So, well, the SCV train is coming once more as well. Bomber is going to go all out for the 2nd time in this game. Taeja does have a couple of nice tanks here on the high ground. That's going to be hard for Bomber to deal with. Oh, simming up, taking a few extra shots there, but there's not many Marines for Taeja. If those go down, then the tanks are going to be left completely exposed, along with
those SCVs moving on forwards. He's killed off a lot of the Marines of Taeja.
That was a beautiful attack so far by Bowman, but this is going to be enough. He lost a lot of Marines. Those tanks were definitely positioned very well. Well, Taeja's Marine kind of seriously dwindling though.
His army's still very, very small in comparison. 60 army supply against 34. And the planetary fortress is at that third base, but he's going to lift everything up, going to the main.
And that's definitely the right decision. Bomber has to cut off this reinforcement. Taeja is outmining him very badly right now. Tanks sieging up, Marines stimming right now. Everything or nothing.
Oh, how well can he actually deal with this? The SCV is going to have to fight furiously. But the Marines, there you go, GG! Bomber